Namaste. I am continuing my video series describing my captivity by Ramlal Bomjon Dharma Sangha, or currently known as Maitriya Guru. I finished my description with the moment when I was already tied in the office house in the settlement of Halkhoriya, and already Chekulama, who accompanied me there at my request, had to leave at the order of Ramlal Bomjon, and he managed to return 1 or 2 days after and looked inside the gridded window where I was tied inside, and he was very worried. And because I was still kind of brainwashed by the devotion and worship of Ramlal Bomjon, I decided to go through this experience and find out who he actually is and what is my connection to him, going through all the dangers, and I was ready to go through all just to find out why am I so attracted to this guru. That time I thought he's a guru, and Halkhoriya as well. So when Chekulama looked inside the window and saw me, I told him, "Cinta nagarnus, sabai ramro huncha, don't worry, everything will be okay," because there was anyway no possibility to free me anymore. He was alone there, and all the other people were actually on the side of Bomjon. There were cult members, so they would. It was a miracle at all that they let him to come and see me. But this sight motivated Lama Cheku to further actions when he returned to Simra, what I didn't know for 3 months, obviously, because I was kept totally ignorant about any news. And so he went to call the police and the media, Nepali media, to release me, to save me. But the thing is that one must know the realities in Nepal, and especially in Bara district. All this police is actually queuing up for blessings regularly for Ram Bomjon during his puja times. So there is a big Pilua army base in it's called Bhadrakali, but it's actually situated in Pilua, and just Bahadur Vaiba, Bomjon's main sponsor and main supporter in Bara district, financial supporter as well. He has a son, Uttar, and Uttar is a very nice person, but still he is an army officer in that army camp. So in a way, because Baiba is so devoted to Bomjon and all his family is, in a way there is a possibility of bias, of course, from the side of police and police army. It's called the APF, I think, AFP, Armed Police Forces. They are wearing blue uniforms, and so they did come to search for me. How does it work in Nepal? If a person disappears, the police is not doing initiative by themselves, like in other European countries, for example. Even if there is no person who is reporting it, the state, the government is the accuser, of course, and the police is automatically going to search. But in Nepal, I experienced many times, I'm not a newcomer to Nepali realities. In Nepal, even when a child disappears, the child of one of my friends of friends disappeared, you must pay a huge amount of money for at least 2 days of thorough search. So obviously there is not much motivation for a police if I don't know if they paid something for searching for me, my friends in Simra, but even if they paid, I cannot imagine that someone would be able to pay police to search for me 3 months, as long as I was kept there. So this was not effective. What I wanted to say with this, they did come. Obviously, I never saw them because most probably Lama Cheku remembered that Bomjon told in that meeting with the committee that I'm going to be chained inside the jungle. In Nepali sounds Bitra, jungle Bitra. And Lama Cheku heard how Bomjon sent Jasbadur Vaiba to the town to buy big, huge steel chains for me and lockers, padlocks. So obviously he was informing the police they have to search for me in the forest, but I suppose that at that time they were searching for me in the wrong place, and it didn't occur to them to search for me in the houses. There had been many, like 10 of concrete houses in Bomjon's compound that time, which had been bulldozed down already. So unfortunately they didn't find me. It was a very tricky way from Bomjon. That time I probably was still kept tied in the house. And so you should understand my attitude, because I was a devotee. I was not an enemy. I was not a person taken from the street. Otherwise I would shout for help. I would protest. I would fight. But I was a devotee. I came there to Bomjon to bow to him, to serve him, to the classical, traditional way, my romantic way of worshipping a guru. As many of you have the same attitude, was like giving all my possessions, all my body, mind, everything to the guru. This would be the ideal way in a case it's a real guru. What that time I still didn't know he wasn't. And so I accepted what he did to me, and I was telling myself, he's a guru, he knows what he's doing, he's my God, kind of. I went to extremes, and I know his current Sangha is going into extremes, and actually many of his devotees had been tortured, and he could easily torture them because they were devotees. So you should understand the psychology behind this. He's picking up people who are allowing him to torture them, at least in the beginning. Of course, after certain things he did to me, my faith in him was diminishing slowly. But at this stage in the beginning, when I was still just tied in the house and not intensively tortured yet, because I was just too much in the sight of these Halkhoriya settlement people, at this stage I was still believing that this all is some very twisted, strange way of teaching me self-discipline, self-control, bearing pain, or that he is trying to see how far is my devotion going, how strong is my devotion towards him. So I was very accepting, and I spent my old days on that chains, still in the house, with prayer and meditation, and even if I had bad intuition and fear, and I saw that Tom Dorje, the Polish kind of Nazi-style attendant, and who was there, Darshan Subba Limbu. I think he arrived later, but there was Chang Bodong, very ugly behaving person, who came to me and asked me, Marici, do you know who I am? And he was smiling ironically. And so I don't remember who he is. And then he told that he was the one I met also during the October 2011 torture, when I was first time attacked, when I was returning the white puppy of the Halkhoriya settlement. And they used this occasion to attack me and tie me in the house and beat me up. And that time Chang Bodong came to me and told me he's going to kill me personally by electric shock. And so I am not so educated in what are the possibilities to kill someone with electric shock in a jungle when there is just a generator. But there is probably some possibility. I was very scared, I must tell, because this guy, this Chang Bodong, his face was very devilish. I just cannot help with the smile when he was telling me I'm going to kill you with electric shock, and smiling and laughing at it. It was disgusting. It was terrifying, of course. And he was helping Tom Dorje and Balahari Rai to tie my hands so that the hands were swollen because the circulation stopped. This was still the October 2011 occasion, which would awaken everyone who has not 200% devotion to a guru like I had. But at that time, Ram Bomjon knows how to behave even when he is beating someone. It's like a very self-controlled way, and he always maintains some kind of energetic, how to say, interaction with the person. So I always felt something like it's a grace. Although my face was swollen and I had bruises, and he broken and burnt my personal belongings, but I still admired him, and I was ready to be lured back to the jungle also on December 28th, when he called me, as I told, by the trick that he wants to speak to me. So let's jump back to the further events when I was already in that house. It was, I cannot recall exactly the days, because that was already a very extreme situation. I was already terrorized, and I was already in an extreme situation when I was told that I'm going to be killed, and so I was preparing myself for being killed. But it could have been like 1 week or 10 days when I was gradually tied there in the house. I mean gradually, because the first few days I was limping and I had 2 broken hands. They didn't tie me, and they saw I didn't want to escape because I was so devoted to this monster. So I was just hanging around them in terrible pains of the accident, of course. And during these first days, Bomjon also called me out to the platform in front of the houses, this grassy platform with I think 2 guys, maybe it was Darshan and Molam Lama or who, to kind of translate. But it was not about speaking, it was about forcing me to give all my email addresses. And I brought my laptop there, and in front of Bomjon, whom I still worship, I had to tell all my passwords and all my email addresses and the passwords to the email addresses, which are about 5 email addresses, and they were getting angry because they were not successful to, when I dictated the password, they were not successful to enter it. So they were nervous, they were accusing me of tricking them, lying to them. I must tell I was not lying. I didn't try to lie to Bomjon at all, because if you consider someone a guru and the God who anyway knows everything, so what purpose would be to lie? I would just embarrass myself, and I thought then. Though now, of course, my opinion turned very much based on the events I am watching and based on his unbelievable attitude. And now I feel bad that I told these passwords for one reason, that of course it's not just about my emails, it's about the emails of people with whom I was communicating as well. But when I was deported after the 3 months and released and deported to Slovakia, then I checked all these emails, and only one I couldn't retrieve. All the others I could retrieve, and for a long time I didn't realize they set, maybe by the help of Semyonji, the great IT expert of Ram Bomjon, they set a forwarding service in the Gmail, in my Zutakat's Gmail, which was my Google group Gmail, so that all my email communication was automatically forwarded to an email which I didn't know. Unfortunately, I learned this, I find this out many months after I returned to Slovakia. But I sat back, and just one of my emails had been unretrievable, even if I was asking Gmail, Google, to help me. So they did this, and in the first days, all these ladies, Tamang ladies, were coming and going and chatting, laughing, and they were seeing me there tied to this iron pole, but none of them had any bad feeling about this. It was like a sight for them if it's a dog is tied near a house, which is quite shocking to me anyway. How do they do this with their conscience, especially after all they learned that what happened after this event. So yes, there was a lot of shocking things. At one moment when Tom was bringing me that noodle soup, which I was describing already last time, that during these days I got one meal which I was afraid to consume, because I saw Tom Dorje bringing this bowl behind some furniture and taking out from a locked board 2 small bottles, and he put it there inside and then locked back the bottles to the board. So obviously everyone would be very scared that it's some poison, it's some drug, it's something. So I was not touching this soup for many days, but I must say I was hungry, of course. I don't know if this can help to anyone in the future who will be similarly kidnapped and tortured by Bomjon, but one of his victims told me once that he didn't touch the food which was offered to him. And so I think that is an important moment, because if I didn't touch that food, maybe he could not do all the other things which he did against me afterwards. But I was hungry after all many days, and after I had this accident, so I was watching that mouse. I am describing it in the previous videos. And finally, when the mouse was not even dizzy and didn't die, which ate from my soup, so finally I risked and tried that soup as well. Which doesn't seem to you probably an important moment, but I cannot tell all the secrets which I vowed to keep secret in exchange to my freedom. But in case any of you get to the similar situation like I was, due to naivety and worshipping a monster like the Bomjon is, remember this moment, please, and don't act instinctively. And so that time it was still first something like 10 days in the beginning. Sorry, I have to climb back a little more. And that time I was still very devoted to him.